I knew I could be certain it would be there for me. I knew I could be certain it would be there for me. That is the voice of my Grandpa Frank, my dad's dad. Grandpa Frank arrived at Ellis Island near the turn of the century in the womb of his 6-month pregnant mom, a refugee from Poland. Grandpa Frank was born 3 months later in the poor section of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a part of the city populated by Eastern European refugees, mostly from the Ukraine and Poland. Grandpa Frank had a 5th grade education, and at age 11 was thrown out of his home and left to fend for himself because his family was too poor to feed him. As a young man, Grandpa Frank fought in World War I, and then, like many Ukrainians and Poles, returned to Pittsburgh to poorly paid factory work in Pittsburgh's infamous steel mills. He married Frances, also proudly Polish, and soon came along my dad, born into the early days of the economic upheaval of the Great Depression. I knew I could be certain it would be there for me. Grandpa Frank was referring to Guardian Angels Parish, the little Polish Catholic church in the west end of Pittsburgh. It was founded around the same time Grandpa was left to fend for himself at age 11. The parish priest, who spoke only Polish, let 11-year-old Grandpa Frank sleep in the church sanctuary and gave him boiled potatoes and cabbage for dinner when Grandpa hadn't been able to scrounge up any food that day. Years later, Grandpa met and then married Frances at that church. His son, my dad, was baptized there. During the worst of the Depression, families gathered in the parish hall to combine the few vegetables they had into a watery soup that was still heartier than if they had not all joined their resources together. Guardian Angels Church also nurtured Grandpa Frank's dreams of economic justice. Union organizers secretly met there in the same sanctuary where Grandpa had slept as a boy. And together, they strategized how to get the factory owners to pay better wages so they could thrive rather than just barely survive. Grandpa buried his wife Frances from that church. We buried Grandpa Frank from that church. We knew we could be certain it would be there for him. We need spiritual touch points in our lives, places where we can come to be reassured in uncertain times and together be challenged to help shape a brighter future. My dear ones, this is a time of uncertainty. We are entering the 3rd year of the pandemic that for some of us seems to be waning, but there are whispers of the next variant just around the corner. This is a time of uncertainty. The political polarization facing this country is truly terrifying. A recent poll asked Americans to rank on a scale of 0 to 100 where they thought the country was in terms of heading toward a civil war. 0 being no risk, 100 being civil war is certain. The average of those polled put us at 70. 70. This is a time of uncertainty. Putin's despotic actions this week introduced the possibility of a world war reaching beyond the boundaries of the Ukraine. Just today, Ukraine put out a call for foreign fighters to join them in their fight for freedom. This is a time of uncertainty. But I am here to assure you of one thing. In this time of uncertainty, you can be certain that the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno will be here for you. In this time of pandemic, you can be certain that the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno will be here for you. In this time of racial reckoning and democracy under attack, you can be certain that the Unitarian Universalist Church for you. In this time of climate change, drought, and wildfire, you can be certain that the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno will be here for you. When your dear friends reach the end of their life journey and you want to gather together and celebrate their lives, you can be certain the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno will be here. When you want to find new friends, connections, and community, you can be certain that the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno will be here for you. When you want to remember that there is a love holding you, there's a love holding all that you love, you can be certain that the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno will be here for you. The only question is, in this time of uncertainty, can we be certain that you will be here for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno? Will you be here for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno? As we've already heard multiple times, today is the beginning of our annual pledge drive. We enter this hallowed time when members, friends, and first-time financial supporters of this church ensure that for another year, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno continues to thrive as a beacon of liberal religious values in the conservative Central Valley. Funding our future compels us to talk about money, but thriving together is not about money. It's about something larger, our congregation's mission to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Can you say this with me? Amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. It takes money to fund this mission. A church can't sustain itself on good intentions as much as we wish it could. It needs generous contributions. We ask each other to pledge what we can for the next fiscal year, which begins on July 1st. From the total of those pledges, we finalize a budget to sustain our spiritual community for one more year. A new member asked me last week, what is required to fund our future so we can thrive together for another year? Well, we need $612,892 for what is a lean budget. For a year of Sunday morning services, we need over $177,000 to cover staff, equipment, and supplies so we can broadcast the Sunday service live from the sanctuary into our virtual campus. This means you will continue to have a choice. Come in person or participate from your home. If you like having that choice, and you think it feels awesome, type the letter A in the comment box, the chat box. To strengthen our children's religious exploration programming and hire a new full-time religious education professional, because we cannot thrive with our currently understaffed program, we need almost $78,000. Are you uplifted by the music each Sunday? Yeah, okay. For that alone, we need $45,000 a year. Do you like the beauty and the serenity of our church campus? Yeah, okay. We need $133,000 a year to cover our mortgage. Lights, air conditioning, water, and other utilities require $41,000. Now, if we take and divide the entire budget up by the number of pledging members and friends, the average cost per member is about $2,670. Now, many people give much, much more because they have the ability to do so. Some pledge tens of thousands of dollars. Others pledge in the $5,000 to $12,000 range. Other in the several thousand range. Others pledge several $100s. There are some who pledge so generously at $1 a week for a total of $52 a year because they want to support their church even though they're just struggling to make ends meet. And there are those who just can't spare anything right now, and that's okay, but who try to find ways to give their time, limited though it may be. Now, I want to be clear. I want to be really clear. Everyone is welcome at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, no matter our financial circumstances. There is no charge to be a member or friend. There is no admission fee to step into the virtual sanctuary or our Alluvial Avenue sanctuary, because those who have more pledge more for those of us in tighter financial situations. That is what it means to be a community bound together by love. Now, I pledge, don't ask anything of you that I won't do myself. Every year, I make a pledge as well. Last year, I pledged over 6% of my pre-tax salary right back to you because I care about this church and its mission. So I pledged last year a total of $6,267. This year, the Pledge Drive team is asking those of us who currently pledge, if possible, to increase our pledge by 3% or more so we can fund a modest increase in the budget. So this year, I decided to increase my pledge by 5% to add a little extra for someone who can't. To you, to us, to the members and friends and our new financial supporters, hopefully, I pledge $6,580. If you too will join me and commit to making a financial pledge of any amount, please type P in the chat box on our virtual campus, and here in the sanctuary, you could just pretend that you're pressing P. There we go. We should have all that fun as well. Now, sharing in a church community is different than giving to a charity. It's different than writing a check to Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, or Citizens Climate Lobby. Those contributions are essential, but this church is different from charities and social change organizations. Like my grandpa did when he was young and vulnerable, this church is the place we come to when the cares and worries of life seem too much for us. This is the church where we come to recharge our batteries and our weary spirits. This is the place we come to weep and the place we come when we need to laugh and sing again. This is the place we come when we are overwhelmed by the headlines. And who hasn't been overwhelmed by the headlines multiple times? This church is the place we come to let go of dogma and damnation. This church is the place we come to be recalled to our best selves again. This is the place we come to create good trouble. This is the place that inspires us to build a tiny home for someone who has no place to sleep. And this is the place that lets us join together to sponsor an Afghan refugee family here in Fresno. This is the place that is big enough to hold all our doubts, questions, and answers. And this is the place that is small enough to want to know us by name. This is the place where we can come to find God, or Spirit, or Source, or our humanity. This is the place that we come to be reminded that we are good and that we are loved. This is the place we come to be challenged to take our love and share it with the world. This is a place we come to feel the long-time sun shine upon us, to feel love surround us, and to touch that pure light within us that guides our way on. Why do I pledge to this church? Why do you pledge to this church? Why do we pledge for this church? We pledge our support because we believe in this church. We believe in Unitarian Universalism. We believe in the power of human hearts to love more broadly and love more boldly. Let's join together in proclaiming this belief in loving broadly and boldly, using these words based on our 7 Unitarian Universalist principles, the core of our faith. They come from the Reverend Scotty Alexander, adapted, and as the band begins to return for our hymn, please loudly and proudly speak the words in italics, either from Alluvial Ave or from our virtual campus. And please say the words in italics. In a world with so much hatred and violence, we need a place that proclaims the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In a world with so much brutality and fear, we need a place, people that seek justice, equity, and what happened to the slides? Did we just lose them? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's back up. Okay, where are we? We are in a world with so much brutality and fear, we need a people to seek justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. In a world with so many people abused and neglected, we need a religion that calls us to accept one another and encourage one another to spiritual growth. In a world with so much dogmatism and falsehood, we need a place that challenges us to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. In a world with so much tyranny and oppression, we need a people that affirm the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. In a world with so much inequality and strife, we need a religion that strives toward the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. In a world with so much environmental degradation, we need a place that advocates respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. In a world with so much uncertainty and despair, we need a religion that teaches our hearts to hope and our hands to serve. Can we say that again? We need a religion that teaches our hearts to hope and our hands to serve. Let's now rise in body or spirit and sing right here.
2